Welcome to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's 2022 Phoenix Awards, presented by Amazon. Join hosts Omari Hardwick and Megan Good as we celebrate the best of our community, including our awardees, the first black female governor of the Federal Reserve, Lisa D. Cook, grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee, New York Times best-selling author, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, and Academy Award-winning costume designer, Ruth Carter. We'll present the Democracy Trailblazer Award to Congressman Benny G. Thompson and applaud public service with the Parade of Congress and special recognition of the retiring members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We'll have special music performances by the 7-time Grammy Award-winning Gladys Knight. And just when you thought the night was over, join us for the inaugural Phoenix Award After Party, sponsored by TikTok and featuring the incomparable DJ Cool. Please take your seats. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's 2022 Phoenix Awards begins now.
Welcome to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's 2022 Phoenix Awards, the culminating event of the 51st Annual Legislative Conference. Please stand and join in singing the Star-Spangled Banner and lift every voice and sing.
It is our honor to present the United States National Anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our
And now, please welcome our host for this evening, an actor, producer, director, author, philanthropist, and one of the stars of the Prime Video comedy, Harlem, Megan Good. And an artist, poet, activist, actor, and a star of the Netflix series, Pieces of Her, Omari Hardwick.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so excited to be here. Good evening. We are so excited to be here with you tonight. We always
love to see the house packed. All of y'all wore your Sunday best on a Saturday, so we appreciate y'all. This really is a dream come true. Speaking of dreams, of course, Megan and I are no strangers to dreams, as we starred together in a movie called A Boy, a Girl, a Dream, about dreams of individual progress and also collective progress like we want this country to do. Amen. That's what the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation means. That's what it does. Making dreams come true, that's their business, and we've had quite a few of them come true this year.
That's what these Phoenix Awards celebrate, our dreams coming true. This is our time, a chance for us to pay tribute to our leaders, to the people who are proving every day that our goals are not just empty hopes. There's realistic plans to lift our people up and to help all Americans. And bit by bit, we're putting our plans into practice. We're achieving those goals through our power.
The CBCF has been supporting that record of achievement for 50 years. So tonight's Phoenix Awards, everybody say Phoenix Awards.
Phoenix Awards.
Tonight's Phoenix Awards are very special because we're kicking off 50 plus 1, the next 50 years of accomplishments and forcefulness, advancing our purpose and elevating our power, maybe pun intended.
We're here tonight to exalt, and to extend our reach into the future. We've got some of our finest artists and strongest leaders to help us do that. And we've got a special guest to start us off with a warm welcome. The Mayor of the District of Columbia, the Honorable Muriel Bowser.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the Mayor of Washington, D.C. And as we come together to celebrate the 51st Annual Legislative Conference, I want to welcome you to the best city in the world and soon to be the 51st state. This year's theme is advancing our purpose and elevating our power. And it's a good theme for 2022. We're going to have a big opportunity in November to do all of those things. There is a lot at stake, as we know, and everyone in this room is working hard to give people a sense of hope. And that's good because all Americans across this country are ready for a hopeful future. They want to see everyone get a fair shot and all of their elected officials tackle the big issues like gun violence and affordable housing. They want us to protect women's right to choose. They want us to be a part of building a sustainable future. And I'm proud that we're making that progress in Washington, D.C., including investing in a package of legacy initiatives for Black Washingtonians so that they can live, we can live, raise our families, and build wealth right here in our nation's capital. But still, we know that there's more work to do, and part of that work is ending the disenfranchisement of 700,000 Americans living right here in Washington, D.C. We know that the time for D.C. statehood is now. D.C. statehood is a racial justice issue, a women's right issue, a voting rights issue, and it's on the ballot. We know how much having 2 more Democratic senators will help the American agenda. And this, I can promise you, Washington, D.C. is ready to send 2 Democratic senators to the Congress. And I know that we will work hand in hand on the issues that affect Black people in our country. So I want to thank you, and I want to welcome you to Washington, D.C. And now it is my great privilege to introduce my friend, Representative Terry Sewell.
Thank you so much, Mayor Bowser, for those wonderful greetings. I also would like to thank all of you for all that you've done to make this event so wonderful. As the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and on behalf of our 36 members of the Board of Directors, I just want to welcome you to the 51st Annual Legislative Conference. We are so excited. And the board has worked so hard and the team has worked so hard. I want to acknowledge all of the board of directors of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Will you please stand so we can give you a round of applause? This year, it's been both a pleasure and a challenge to put together ALC because we're all back in person. We're all so excited about it. I want to thank the members of this Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and the wonderful team that's put this all together. Their unwavering dedication to the task of getting us all together in safety and in fellowship. I'd like to ask all of the staff and team of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation to please stand. That includes our president, Nicole Austin Hillary, as well as Joyce Beatty and Stephen Horsford and Val Demings. We were all a part of a task force. And I just want to say that task force had a hard job, but we've made it look easy. And I want to thank the staff and the hardworking team of the foundation in helping us. Congresswoman Demings is not with us, of Florida. She is exactly where she should be, and that is working hard, responding to Hurricane Ian in her home state of Florida. Let us give a round of applause not only to Val Demings and her hard work, but let us also keep in our prayers her constituents and those in Florida. I also would like to acknowledge our CBC spouses who have loved and supported us. If you would please stand, our CBC spouses. Please give them a round of applause. There's never been a more successful time for ALC than now. Not only is tonight's Phoenix Award dinner sold out, but we also have attracted over 130 sponsors. And I want you to know that we reached our goal and exceeded our goal in fundraising this year because of your support. Will you please give our sponsors a round of applause? And now I'd like to introduce a representative of the ALC presenting sponsor, Amazon. Will you help me in welcoming Vice President of Global Operations, Ofori Agboka.
Good evening and welcome, or should I say welcome back, friends of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. First, I want to send thoughts and prayers to everyone impacted by the recent hurricanes in Puerto Rico, Florida, and our coastal states. We stand with you and will continue to provide support where needed to help you and your families rebuild. It's been a long 3 years since we've been able to come together, put on our black ties and ball gowns, and celebrate in the spirit of excellence, inspiration, and uplift. Tonight, we're reminded that the very things that brought us together in 2019 still unite us in this moment. We are brought together again by our shared commitment to scholarship, leadership, and service to community. My name is Ofori Egboka, and I'm the Vice President of People, Experience, and Technology for Global Operations at Amazon. I am humbled and honored to be here as a first-generation Ghanaian American on my father's side and the son of a 1968 Grambling State University, New Orleans on my mother's side, and a husband of 22 years to my beloved Mississippi lady, Frida, and a father of 3 wonderfully black children, respecting all that have made this moment possible and being extremely proud of my heritage, our heritage, and the journey of my people, our people. As I look across this room at the faces of the descendants of the African diaspora, I am both inspired and elated. I see the culmination of our ancestors' daring dreams, the continuation of our oral traditions, our uniqueness, our resiliency. Traditions born of love, brilliance, struggle, perseverance, and celebration. A culture that has spanned continents with a richness that has influenced our art, our politics, our fraternities, our sororities, and our greater communities. A culture that has advanced our purpose and elevated our power. A culture that is a central beacon for so many of the amazing people in this room tonight. I am humbled to share this moment with you, and I'm honored to represent Amazon, a proud presenting sponsor of this 51st Annual Legislative Conference. Having said that, on behalf of my colleagues and nearly 1.8 million Amazonians and the many communities that we serve, we thank you for being here tonight. At Amazon, we believe that our communities, our planet, our future generations need us to be better every day. And we start every day with a determination to make better, do better, and be better for our customers, our employees, our partners, and the world at large. And we believe we must end every day knowing that we can do even more tomorrow. I think in many ways that is the spirit of the Congressional Black Caucus, a caucus whose history includes giants like the greats John Lewis and Elijah Cummings, an incubator of talent that nurtured the likes of Whip Jim Clyburn, Secretary Marcia Fudge, the Honorable Cedric Richmond, President Barack Obama, and Vice President Kamala Harris. The conscience of the Congress has always been about made better, making things better for those often forgotten in America. A caucus that has always done better for our people and all people, and whose members have always been better because their communities required it. I had the honor of meeting the late, great John Lewis in 2019 at this very dinner, just before I joined Amazon at a time where I was thinking of some transitions in my life. I was in awe of Congressman Lewis because of all that he represented to me, my family, and all of us in this room. I was in awe of his greatness and all that he had done to positively change the course of this nation. And as I spoke with him just 3 years ago, one thing quickly became clear. The care and concern that he had that was genuine and that was every aspect of his life. His selflessness was core to his character. And with everything in that interaction that it meant to me, Mr. John Lewis was more interested in knowing who I was. While I stood in admiration waiting for him to share a few words about his life's cause, he sincerely and graciously asked questions about me, my life, my family. He shared that he was proud of me, and he said, "Keep going." You know, this moment reinforced the lesson I've always known, that the reminder of the impact that we can have on the lives of the people around us by taking time to listen, motivate, and share even just one kind word. And of course, he stared in me, he stirred in me the move, and he said, no doubt what he told many of you, you have to make good trouble. Good trouble to right the wrongs that many experience in this country. Good trouble to make a positive difference in my community. And good trouble to shift the way corporate America thinks and works. His encouraging and motivating words are something that I've held on and I will pursue as I take on this global opportunity as a global leader at Amazon with my colleagues. A company where we are charged to end everyday thinking about how we can leave a lasting impression on this world. I'm so grateful as I return here tonight. I'm doing so representing my company as a presenting sponsor of this conference. And as I close, I want to honor the giants that have gone on to glory since our last in-person Phoenix Awards dinner. Men like the great John Lewis, the Honorable Elijah Cummings, and the Honorable ALC Hastings. But I cannot end without honoring the living legends we have in this room tonight, like Chairwoman Joyce Beatty, whom we all admire. Congresswoman Beatty, we want to thank you for all that you've done and all you continue to do and amazing leadership that you've given to the CBC this past year and beyond. Also want to thank the CBCF Board Chair Terry Sewell and the conference chairs Stephen Horsford and Val Demings for all the amazing job that you've done this week and all that you continue to do daily to impact the communities, our communities, and influence generations. So we celebrate this special evening, I hope in a spirit of good trouble, prevails as we continue to advance our purpose and elevate our power. As the CBC knows, solving problems together for a better future for all people in the communities is why we're here. And we at Amazon will continue to stand with you and be by you. We remain committed to making better, doing better, and being better every day. The work doesn't end tonight, and we look forward to partnering with you to tackle the problems of today and tomorrow, so we can build a better future for all people together. God bless, take care, thank you, be well, be safe.
Hey! Thank you, Afori, and thank you, Amazon. Your support is an encouragement and an endorsement of our work, and we're tremendously grateful. Now, it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce another great leader in the Congress of the United States. She has represented the 12th District of California for more than 35 years. Please welcome the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you, Megan, for your kind introduction, to you and Amari for blessing the silver screen and our television screens with your dazzling talents. And thank you to Madam Chair of the Foundation, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, and the President and CEO, Nicole Austin Hillary, for the invitation to join this spectacular occasion. It is a testament to the power you've built and the respect you command that tonight we are joined by the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and our barrier-breaking Vice President, Kamala Harris. And after 2 years disrupted by the pandemic, how wonderful to finally gather together in person to celebrate your half a century of excellence. As we gather, though, let us again have in our prayers and thoughts the sufferings of those afflicted by Ian, but also take hope in the fact that as we gather, we are gathering with the newly invested into the Supreme Court of the United States, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. The theme of this year's celebration is timely, advancing our purpose, elevating our power. This is the persistent, purposeful, patriotic spirit that has defined the Congressional Black Caucus for decades. Since its earliest days, born out of the cresting wave of the Civil Rights Movement, the CBC and its partner in the Foundation had offered a fierce voice for justice, for progress, and for the common good. Indeed, we're thrilled to be here tonight with the members, friends, and supporters of the Congressional Black Caucus. Today, under the magnificent leadership of Chair Joyce Beatty, and with the largest CBC delegation in Congress in history, the CBC is not just at the table, but at the head of the table. CBC members in the House are writing laws, wielding gavels as chairs of many powerful committees and subcommittees. Let me name a few. Congresswoman Maxine Waters of Financial Services, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Science, Space, and Technology, Chairman Bobby Scott of Education and Labor, Chairman Betty Thompson of Homeland Security and the Select Committee to investigate January 6th, Chairman Gregory Meeks of the Foreign Affairs Committee, David Scott of Agriculture, and of course our distinguished Democratic whip, Jim Clyburn, and the chair of our caucus, Hakeem Jeffries. The CBC has been intimately involved in every legislative achievement, from rescuing our economy from the pandemic, to enacting historic gun safety law, to slashing health care costs, to passing an infrastructure bill that advances environmental justice, to fighting for justice in policing, and so much more. Most fundamental to our democracy is the leadership the CBC is providing to promote voting rights and to end voter suppression and election nullification. Thank you, Congressional Black Caucus. Indeed, as all who serve in the Congress know, when the CBC speaks, everyone listens. Truly, the Congressional Black Caucus is the conscience of the Congress. Tonight, as we celebrate the extraordinary legacy and leadership of the CBC, let us recognize the outstanding public servants who will be honored this evening with the Phoenix Awards. Indeed, all of our awardees embodying the founding ethos of the CBCF, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, a commitment to education, to inclusivity, and to shaping the next generation of public servants. It's truly a blessing that we have a President and Vice President, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are unyielding in their commitment to justice and diversity. And next year, when we come together, we will also have a mayor of Los Angeles, Congresswoman Mayor then Karen Bass. Back to the President and Vice President, who we'll be hearing from soon. Under their administration, with the Democratic Congress and bolstered by your leadership, we have together achieved immense progress. But as you know, much work needs to be done. Must be done to forge a more perfect union we were promised by our founders and advanced by our beloved John Lewis, and I might add my Baltimore brother, Elijah Cummings. And the leadership of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, each of you will be crucial to that our shared interest, priorities, and values prevail this November. On behalf of the Congress and the country, thank you for your powerful partnership and best wishes for a wonderful celebration tonight. God bless all of you. God bless America. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Okay, I got two questions. The first question is for everybody. How many people, by show of hands, have to use the bathroom already? No, we good? I saw a couple hands. She like, I've been saying I need to go. And then my second question, this is for men. By show of hands, men, how many men in here know that women are stronger, smarter, brighter, better every day of the week and twice on Sunday? I better see all the men raising their hand. I agree. I just hooked all of y'all up. Y'all are good for the night. Come on, Roland. Leave it to Roland Martin to be doing some, you rebellious with no cause. All right, guys. Leadership carries with it great responsibility. Every superhero movie would state the same, of course. And part of that responsibility is going to maintain a strong and unflappable demeanor through all the challenges that leadership itself brings. A woman, another woman, who's been doing just that for us and wearing the mantle of leadership with grace, dignity, and I'll add, this is not on the teleprompter, beauty. She has become a sort of pseudo mentor of mine, a friend of mine. I don't want to make Congresswoman Frederica jealous, but Mama Freddie has still got her position as being my Mama Freddie. But we can say that this next Congresswoman is perhaps my auntie. Ladies and gentlemen, with forcefulness, the current chairwoman of the CBC, the Honorable Congresswoman from Ohio. All the Ohioans say, what up? Please give a warm round of applause to the one and only Representative Joyce Beatty.
Thank you, Omari. Chairing the CBC has been a responsibility, but a welcome one, and also a privilege. The greatest privilege has been working closely with as dedicated, talented, and hardworking groups exist. Anywhere on this planet, my CBC brothers and sisters. It's a historic group, the largest CBC in our nation's history, and I want you to meet them. These are the men and women who are advancing our purpose and elevating our power.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 58 incomparable men and women known as the 117th class of the Congressional Black Caucus. Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, District of Columbia, serving Congress since 1991. Representative Maxine Waters, California, 43rd Congressional District, serving Congress since 1991. Representative Sanford D. Bishop, Georgia, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative James E. Clyburn, South Carolina, 6th Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson, Texas, 30th Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative Bobby L. Rush, Illinois, 1st Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative Bobby Scott, Virginia, 3rd Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative Benny G. Thompson, Mississippi, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 1993. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Texas, 18th District, serving Congress since 1995. Representative Danny K. Davis, Illinois, 7th Congressional District, serving Congress since 1997. Representative Gregory W. Meeks, New York, 5th Congressional District, serving Congress since 1998. Representative Barbara Lee, California, 13th Congressional District, serving Congress since 1998. Representative David Scott, Georgia, 13th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2003. Representative G.K. Butterfield, North Carolina, 1st Congressional District, serving Congress since 2004. Representative Emmanuel Cleaver II, Missouri, 5th District, serving Congress since 2005. Representative Al Green, Texas, 9th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2005. Representative Gwen Moore, Wisconsin, 4th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2005. Representative Yvette D. Clark, New York, 9th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2007. Representative Hank Johnson, Georgia, 4th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2007. Representative Kwesi Mfume, Maryland, 7th Congressional District, serving Congress from 1987 to 1996, and again since 2020. Representative Andre Carson, Indiana, 7th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2007. Representative Karen Bass, California, 37th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2011. Representative Terry A. Sewell, Alabama, 7th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2011. Representative Frederica S. Wilson, Florida, 24th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2011. Representative Donald M. Payne, Jr., New Jersey, 10th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2012. Representative Joyce Beatty, Ohio, 3rd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2012. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, New York, 8th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2011. Representative Mark Vesey, 33rd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2013. Representative Robin Kelly, Illinois, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2013. Senator Cory Booker, New Jersey, Congressional District, serving Congress since 2013. Representative Alma Adams, North Carolina, 12th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2014. Representative Brenda Lawrence, Michigan, 14th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2015. Delegate Stacey Plaskett, Virginia Islands, serving Congress since 2015. Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, New Jersey, 12th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2015. Representative Dwight Evans, Pennsylvania, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2016. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, Delaware, serving Congress since 2017. Representative Anthony Brown, Maryland, 4th District, serving since 2017. Representative Al Lawson, Florida, 5th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2017. Representative A. Donald McEachin, Virginia, 4th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2017. Representative Stephen Horsford, Nevada, 4th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Colin Allred, Texas, 32nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Johanna Hayes, Connecticut, 5th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Lucy McBath, Georgia, 6th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Joe Neguse, Colorado, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Ilhan Omar, Minnesota, 5th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Ayanna Presley, Massachusetts, 7th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Lauren Underwood, Illinois, 14th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2018. Representative Nakima Williams, Georgia, 5th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Cori Bush, Missouri, 1st Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Jamal Bowman, New York, 16th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Richie Torres, New York, 15th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Marilyn Strickland, Washington, 10th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Senator Raphael Warnock, Georgia, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Mondaire Jones, New York, 17th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Troy Carter, Louisiana, 2nd Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Chantel Brown, Ohio, 11th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2021. Representative Sheila Sharpelis McCormick, Florida, 20th Congressional District, serving Congress since 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, the 58 members of the 117th class of the Congressional Black Caucus.
When I said they were talented and hardworking, I forgot to say powerful, talented, and beautiful. Thank you so much. And this year, I have to add the word selfless as well. Because this year, our Congressional Black Caucus members agreed to depart from tradition, and they shared their dinner tables at this spectacular event. Get ready for this now. And as a result, we were able to offer more table sponsorships and raise a giant amount of money for the CBCF. So giant, in fact, that Congresswoman Terry Sewell, if you'll join me, we would like to make, here she comes, I'm gonna wait. We would like to present to you and the CBCF with a giant, giant check. Okay, you ready? Terry, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm so excited. In the amount of more than $1 million. We were able to raise this through the sacrifice of our CBC members and the generosity of our sponsors. Here we go. We're going to go. Come on. I think we have to go. Okay, here we go.
Chairwoman Beatty, on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, we thank the members of the Congressional Black Caucus for your generosity. Thank you so much for leading by example. We are so blessed to have such amazing members of Congress who are so selfless that we added $1 million to the total raised for this annual legislative conference. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the wonderful interns, scholarships, and fellowships that we will be able to provide because of your selflessness. Thank you again.
Honored guests, please join in recognizing our members of Congress who are retiring at the end of their terms this winter. First, elected 30 years ago, and now the Dean of the Texas delegation from that state's 30th District, a former chair of the CBC, and the senior member of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. Next, another member who entered in 1993, a pastor, an activist, and the representative of the Illinois 1st Congressional District, the Honorable Congressman Bobby Rush. From North Carolina's 1st Congressional District, serving since 2004, another former CBC chair and the senior Chief Deputy Democratic Whip, the Honorable Congressman G.K. Butterfield. Another past chair of the CBC from the California 37th District, first elected in 2010, the Honorable Congresswoman Karen Bass. The representative of Michigan's 14th Congressional District since 2015, the Honorable Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence. And we would be remiss if we didn't announce our ALC honorary co-chair, Representative Val Demings, Florida 10th District, serving Congress since 2017. Thank you. Thank you to all of our CBC members. We honor you for your service, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And now, everyone, let's enjoy dinner.
We also would like to recognize our wonderful member, Anthony Brown, who's ascending on to be the AG in Maryland.
pile in. We want you guys to finish up your meals, finish up your selfies. I see a whole bunch of selfies happening. 51 years, for more than half a century, through challenges and triumphs, the Congressional Black Caucus has been fighting for us. It's grown in size and in stature and in power, of course, and it's created a string of success unmatched in American legislative history.
And as we mark this milestone, it's a good time to celebrate the lives, as our anthem says, have brought us thus far on the way. We remember them now, especially those who have transitioned over the past year. We remember with fondness and gratitude the contributions they made that prepared the way for new leaders, new ideas, and new achievements.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we honor the lives of the ancestors and ancestors, even as we begin our next half century. Throughout our first 50 years, there have been wins and, of course, losses, but through it all, the CBC has kept at it. And the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation has been supporting our representatives in Congress with the policy and educational resources they need to carry on the fight and the light.
This anniversary, 50+1, truly is a time of advancing our purpose and elevating our power. Our annual legislative conference that we held this week is crucial to that support. To tell us more, here's the President and CEO of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, Nicole Austin Hillary.
Good evening. I would like to add my thanks to all of you for making this a sold-out event. You know, we always say that it takes each and every one of you to support us in our work, and I cannot tell you how much it means to us that you have taken that message to heart. So thank you all so much. Please give yourselves a round of applause. And I would also like to thank our sponsors for making this a record-breaking year for the annual legislative conference. It's an important, yes, applaud for that too. It is such an important endorsement, not only of 50 years of legislative accomplishments, that have been topped off by an extraordinary year in Congress, but it's also an acknowledgement of the power of all of us working together, moving forward and moving higher. Please help me also in thanking all of our wonderful sponsors. Now, the annual legislative conference has been both a culmination and a beginning. We've celebrated some amazing legislative progress, such as advancing our purpose through exploring ways of making our influence even more forceful and elevating our power. We are making great strides in asserting our CBCF principles and achieving our goals of advancing the global Black community, developing leaders, and educating the public. That's what we do at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. We have been able to provide the data, that hard facts and evidence that our representatives and senators need to help combat systemic injustice and to advance racial equity and the development of human potential in the Black community. And this year, we saw the concrete results in congressional action by our members. In a wide variety of social justice and public policy issues such as healthcare, the economy, the disproportionate effects of climate change, and many more, we've used education, investment, and new initiatives to make a real difference in the lives of all Black Americans. But as proud as we are of all that we've accomplished in supporting the Congressional Black Caucus, we are more proud of what we're going to accomplish, our agenda moving forward. And nothing is more important to that agenda than continuing our scholarship and internship programs. Yes. And I know you all are out there having dinner, looking beautiful and having fun, but I want everybody to hear me say that again. There is nothing more important than our scholarship and internship programs. Those programs have given hundreds of young people the opportunity to work in public service and public policy, and we have given financial assistance to gifted and motivated young leaders in the Congressional Black Caucus member districts. And you should know this. For us, it doesn't matter if you grew up rich or poor, if you went to elite boarding schools, or if you went to the best public school in your neighborhood. We give those scholarships and internship opportunities regardless of where you started in life, because what we are concerned about is where you will end up in life. With the Leadership Institute, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation is giving young Black leaders the training and the tools, the research and the knowledge to fill the community service and public policy positions that we all need. So when you hear folks up here talking about the next half century, they are talking about those young people. And we can't just put them at the point of the fight. We need them to win the fight. So in order for them to win the fight, it takes a lot of support. And that support has to come from me, and it has to come from each and every one of you to see to it that they have what they need. So please, take a pause from your socializing, networking, looking beautiful, and eating, because I want you to see this important video so you can understand exactly what we mean when we talk about the future generation.
The Leadership Institute at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation was founded in 1976. It was, in fact, one of the first programs that was instituted at the foundation. And it was started so that it could be a vehicle for young Black students to have chances to work on Capitol Hill, to learn about policy, to learn about legislation, and how everything works in terms of our government in Washington.
I was a member of the CBCF Fellowship Class of 2007, placed in former Congressman Kendrick Meek's office. The cool story is that I currently now work for Congressman Meek at King and Spalding. It was a foundation for me, which led to me ultimately becoming an education lobbyist.
The level of support, the level of care that the foundations provided to me was exceptional, and I'd never experienced anything like that. Not only did we go to work on Capitol Hill, it gave us opportunities to meet people around DC doing very different things, leading in their own respective right, to see people doing things on such a national level, especially Black and brown people. It was life-changing.
The most meaningful experience that I had as an intern was the president of Latvia came to address a joint session of Congress. I was looking around the chamber and I was like, wow, this is incredible. This place was built by our people. The Capitol was built by slaves. And here I am, 19 years old, sitting on the floor of the House, listening to a president of another country speak. Like, this is wild. So then, literally, 12 years later, when I got elected as a member of Congress and during orientation came in and walked through those same doors again, but I belonged. I just couldn't believe it because it was almost like I had dreamed that dream in color.
You should donate to both the Leadership Institute and the CBCF if you believe in the future of young people and preparing them to be the leaders for our country.
There's so much support to be able to offer these young people as they're beginning their careers. I think that the pipeline's unmatched. And as a member, I am so grateful to be able to welcome the CBC interns into my office. I just know how valuable the experience is.
I will tell you that we have wonderful examples of how that investment pays off. We have individuals who are members of Congress right now as we speak who came through the Leadership Institute.
That summer changed my life. I certainly would not be in Congress today if it were not for the cultivation that I experienced in the summer 2006 with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation.
Those, everyone, are the faces and the voices that need your help. And we need your help beginning now. You can help starting right now tonight. I would like for all of you to step up and be counted this very moment. And here's how you can do that. There are QR codes located at the center of all those lovely tables next to the wonderful flowers. I would like you to scan the QR codes on your table, or you can text CBCF to 56512. Do it right now. Before you get busy doing something else, scan that QR code or text us to 56512. I see heads looking around for those QR codes. I see you pulling out your phones. Please get busy. Take a look at the screens also and text CBCF to 56512. Above all, after you're done texting, please know from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for investing in the future of not only Black America, but of America. Thank you so much and keep supporting us and enjoy your evening.
Let's show our appreciation to all those in the CBCF Leadership Institute and all the Leadership Institute alumni who are doing the work of moving us all up a little higher. Let's do all we can to support them, shall we?
So we want you to scan the QR code or text CBCF to 56512. Again, that is CBCF to 56512. If you need help, just look to the left or the right. I believe somebody at your table can supply some help. Don't wait, do it right now. We want you to do it right now. And again, on behalf of Megan and I, we thank you.
Thank you. And now, thank you everybody so much. And now to present the first of tonight's Phoenix Awards is the honorary co-chair of this year's annual legislative conference.
From the 4th District of Nevada, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Stephen Horsford.
Thank you. Presenting the Phoenix Awards is always a humbling task because of the landmark achievements of our distinguished heroes and honorees. And this first award The 2022 Honorary Co-Chairs Award is a perfect example. It goes to a woman who has dedicated her life and her art, as she says, to sharing the past, present, and future of Black culture. And what a success she's made of that commitment. A gifted designer, she has brought her own special vision of color and texture to clothing some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. She's worked with the greatest directors, from Ava DuVernay and Spike Lee to John Singleton and Steven Spielberg. She has worked on dozens of movies and television shows and garnered a bucket full of awards, including her 2019 Academy Award for Black Panther. She's the first African American ever to win the Oscar for Best Costume Design. But the secret of her success is her understanding of character. She has never forgotten that the ensembles that she creates are expressions of the humanity of the people who wear them. Just take a look at some of her work. She and her artistry speak for themselves.
Ruth E. Carter moved to Los Angeles at the age of 26, and now she has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Working as a backstage dresser at the Los Angeles Theater Company and costume designer at Lula Dance Theater Company, she met a director named Spike Lee, who hired her for his second film, School Days, in 1988. They went on to work together in a number of projects, including popular titles Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, and Malcolm X, for which she received her first Oscar nomination in 1992. In addition to Malcolm X, Ruth received another Oscar nomination in 1997 for her work in director Steven Spielberg's Amistad, and then again in 2019 for Marvel's Black Panther. Her work for the film, termed Afrofuturism, is a cultural aesthetic that combines science fiction, history, and fantasy to connect those from the African diaspora with their lost ancestry. The groundbreaking style won her, among other awards, the 2019 Academy Award for Costume Design, making her the first Black woman to win an Oscar in the category. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation proudly recognizes Ruth E. Carter with the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation ALC Honorary Co-Chairs Award.
Honored guest, please join me and my fellow co-chair, Congresswoman Val Demings, in paying tribute to the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Annual Legislative Conference Honorary Co-Chairs Award, Ruth E. Carter.
It's an honor to be here and to talk about costume design. You know, the truth and the passion in my work has always been to uplift our communities with the vibrancy of costume design. My journey into this profession began when I was a little girl growing up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Yes. The youngest of 8 siblings, I relied on everyone at home to entertain and to teach me things. My brother introduced the family to art, and I was inspired to be an artist just like him, spending hours at my little desk drawing and coloring. It was that day when I discovered a sewing machine tucked inside that little desk, and my creative playground expanded. This girl of modest beginnings who knew how to dream and pursue that dream by any means necessary began to build her love for creating art. I soon followed my family's legacy to Hampton University. You know, in 1861, Hampton is where newly freed people were educated under the giant tree on campus known as the Emancipation Oak. I yearned to learn more about the fascinating stories of emancipation and families threaded in the roots of the giant oak tree. Thus, the history of African Americans became another passion of mine. That's where all my blessings as an artist merged, and I soon found myself a costume designer, on campus, off campus, and anywhere in between. Then, early one morning, when it was still dark outside, the phone rang. Hello? Ruth. Yes, Ruth. Who is this? This is the man of your dreams. I said, Denzel? No, this is Spike Lee. From director Spike Lee to Ryan Coogler, my fitting room has become a place of transformation for actors where costume meets characters and souls merge. Where Denzel Washington became Malcolm X, where Angela Bassett became Betty Shabazz, Tina Turner, and Queen Ramonda, and where the late Chadwick Boseman became Thurgood Marshall and the Black Panther. My fitting room. My fitting room is where we have been advancing our purpose and elevating our power. Creating costume design for Black Panther and the upcoming Wakanda Forever, out November 11th, so take your staff, has been a full circle moment for me. All this connects me to our ancestors who arrived in shiploads on these shores from Africa, vulnerable and naked, and learned to spin cloth to make all types of clothing, becoming fashion artisans behind closed doors, making dresses for first ladies, never earning the designer credit for creating such couture fashions for their owners and all of their children. That sewing machine inside my desk was a direct connection to this legacy. I am inspired by the skills that my ancestors perfected to survive, that paved my way to create costumes that gives names to the nameless, advances our power, and elevates our purpose as a community, and allows us to understand ourselves better. This has given me a deeper understanding of the purpose I try to achieve every day. Creating Wakanda, designing Afrofuturistic fashion where people can find their true beauty represented is the greatest gift of my career. Giving Black and brown children the opportunity to see themselves on screen as superheroes with the confidence carried by the Dora Milaje and the Black Panther. They have the ability to manifest their freedom. I cherish knowing that my family, my legacy, my ancestors led me here. And I thank you, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and the Congressional Black Caucus for this recognition. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, welcome to their seats, the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, and the second gentleman, Mr. Douglas Emhoff. Distinguished guests, please take your seats.
When looking for things, you want things to affirm to your kids that, hey, you're fine just like you are, your hair is perfect just like it is, your skin tone is beautiful just like it is. And so we saw that there was a gap there, and that's kind of how we started. Amazon has helped in terms of the marketing, in terms of our Amazon storefront. My hope is that all kids realize and they're empowered, positive, innovative, and creative, just like our slogan.
We are never ordinary,
Always epic.
Distinguished guests, please welcome once again the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, the Honorable Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
I'm just giving people time to take their seats, please. There are two other special awards I want to mention tonight, and they were given out earlier this week at our National Town Hall meeting. Two extraordinary people received our CBCF Exemplary Civic Leadership Award, and that honor means just what it says. These two civic leaders are models of what we can do when given the opportunity to serve. The Distinguished Award was given to an author and Princeton University professor, Dr. Eddie Glaude, and the award-winning actor, the mother of Black Hollywood, Jennifer Lewis. I'd like to ask them both to stand and be recognized. Purpose and power are the two words that also apply to our next guest, and you really want to sit down for this one. She has bucked the forces against her and the current climate of that's polarized and the mistrust to pursue a purpose, to bring all members together as one nation, and to use the power of democracy to shape our destiny. Distinguished guests, it is an honor to present to you a former member of the Congressional Black Caucus and now the Vice President
of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Isn't it wonderful to be back? 3 years, and we're back in person, CBC. I want to thank our illustrious Chairwoman, Joyce Beatty, for your years of service for the Congressional Black Caucus and to our nation. So as we gather here, I know that all of us also have in mind the people of Puerto Rico and Florida and South Carolina. And as President Biden has said, we will stand by you for as long as it takes. And I will reiterate, we will stand by you. Now, for tonight, we gather once again at the Phoenix Dinner with so many friends and our CBC family. The first time I attended this dinner, I was in college at Howard University. You know. And as a United States Senator, I attended this dinner as a CBC member. And tonight, I, of course, attend this dinner as Vice President of the United States. This year's conference theme, Advancing Our Purpose and Elevating Our Power, truly captures the spirit and the purpose of CBC, because that is what CBC does. In a moment, you will hear from the President about the progress we have made together, a President who chose CBC members and staff to serve at every level of our government, including our outstanding Secretary of the Housing and Urban Development Agency, Madam Secretary Marcia Fudge. And together with this caucus, we place equality, equity, and justice at the center of our work. And I will highlight just two of the many examples that demonstrates why that matters. With the CBC, we invested an historic $5.8 billion, that's B with a B, billion dollars in our HBCUs. Knowing that our HBCUs are some of our best institutions of academic excellence. And speaking of history, many of us were together yesterday morning for the investiture of the first Black woman to serve on the United States Supreme Court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And this, all of it, was made possible because we elevated our power and advanced our purpose. But we still have so much more to do. And we need the leadership of this organization now more than ever. Leadership that has the proven ability to see America as it can be, unburdened by what has been. Leadership that is grounded and has always been in fundamental rights, including the importance of justice for all people. Leadership that represents not just the Congress, not just the conscience of the Congress, but the conscience
of our country. We gather in unsettled times. I have seen that as I have traveled across this nation and around the world as your vice president. And you have seen it too. Ideals and freedoms that we thought were long established and are now under threat. Overseas, it includes the threat to the sovereignty of independent nations. And at home, threats to a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. Threats to a voter's right to cast a ballot and have it counted. And threats to the right of every citizen to lead and live free from hate and violence. These long-held freedoms now hang in the balance. So in this moment, what are we then called to do? Well, CBC, let us take a lesson from our history. During one of my most recent conversations with Ambassador Andrew Young, he told me about the time that he and Dr. Martin Luther King met with President Lyndon Johnson in 1964 to push for the passage of the Voting Rights Act. President Johnson had just passed the Civil Rights Act and told them he could not pass another bill. He said, I just do not have the power. So Dr. King turned to Ambassador Young and said, well, we are going to get the president some power. And that is exactly what they did. In elections that year, they organized, advocated, and protected access to the ballot. They got the president the power to pass the Voting Rights Act the very next year. We have a job to do. We have a job to do. Because in this room, we have the power we need to get it done. And we have a president who works every single day to elevate that power even higher, to advance that purpose even further. My fellow Americans, it is my honor to introduce the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Whoa! Hello, CBC. Please sit down. Thank you, Kamala, for that introduction, and even more importantly for your partnership, because it is a partnership. Isn't she doing an incredible job? Not a joke. Joyce, I see you over there. Can't hide. Thank you for your leadership of the CBC as the chair. And Jim, Minority Whip, thank you for your friendship and support, for bending the arc of the moral universe just a little bit more toward justice. And thank you, the CBC members, for your leadership and service. And to the staff of the CBC, including Vince Evans, who worked for us from day one on the campaign in the White House. Thank you, Terry, chair of the CBC Foundation. Y'all are the best. I recruited a bunch of your members to be in my administration. Kamala, Marcia, Cedric, thank you for everything. And everyone here tonight, Jill and I are honored to be with so many friends. You know, though I know you're really here to see Gladys Knight, I ain't one of the pips. Let me start with our hearts, to state the obvious, it can't go without saying, are heavy. The devastating hurricane, the storms in Puerto Rico, Florida, and South Carolina. And yes, we owe Puerto Rico a hell of a lot more than they've already gotten. But Steve and Val are here tonight, dinner co-chairs, and Val, Val couldn't be here tonight because she says the people of her district who are in desperate need. My administration is working closely with the CBC members to do whatever it takes to help search and rescue, recovery, and rebuilding. It's going to take a long time, so we cannot tire. Whatever it takes, I mean it, whatever it takes. In a time like these, we're reminded that America is about how we choose to see one another. How we choose to see one another. How we choose to treat everyone with dignity and respect they deserve. How we choose to believe that as America is big enough for all of us to succeed. You know me and I know you. That's the version of America we're making real. Finally, together we're making it real. In fact, big wins since we were sworn in simply wouldn't have happened without the CBC. As a matter of fact, without the CBC, I wouldn't be standing here tonight. That's a fact. Look at what we witnessed yesterday. I told you all I was going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court, and we did. Not only the first black vice president, but the first member of the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Think about that. Think about that. Look, I know by now no one ever doubts I mean what I say. The problem is I sometimes say all that I mean. Well, look what Ketanji Brown, the Associate Justice, said. It said, here's her quote, "It took just one generation to go from segregation to the Supreme Court of the United States." That's how she described, that's how Justice Jackson described the feeling as we celebrated her confirmation at the White House this spring. It was one of the proudest days in office and a commitment I kept. But I want to thank Dick Durbin, chair of the Judiciary Committee, for getting it done. He described her as a pillar of strength, but it couldn't have been done without Cory Booker, who was back there as an engineer. Cory, you're here somewhere, I know. Thank you, Cory. And for reminding us of the resolve and joy at that historic moment. You know, and by the way, I've nominated and the CBC has helped confirm, more black women appellate justices than every other president in history combined. Combined throughout our history. But that's not all we've gotten done. The historic American Rescue Plan helped us emerge from the pandemic and move from economic crisis to resurgence. We centered equity in our historic vaccine effort, going to communities, closes the racial gap, to make sure all black Americans, no matter where they live, no matter what their circumstances, got a chance to be vaccinated and boosted. And I want to tell you, we had a hell of a lot of help from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. Look, that law helped more black Americans gain health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Black unemployment is down. Black small business creation is up. And black child poverty was cut in half in 2021 because of the child tax credit. And with the help of the CBC, we're working like hell to make sure we make the child tax credit permanent. 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 And let's cut through it. I ran on the commitment that I'd get significant funding for the HBCUs. I didn't go to one, but one got me elected, Delaware State University. Oh, not joking. No. You don't. If you know Delaware, you know I'm telling the truth. We have the 8th largest black population in America as a percent of population. And they did it for me. And by the way, the president used to work for me until he wanted to be president. So now he's the chairman, he's the president of the university. You look, instead of photo ops, I delivered $5.8 billion in funding, more than any time in any portion of our history, ever. That's a fact. And with Marsh's leadership, we're expanding our efforts to build black wealth like others have through home ownership, because we know that's how you build equity and pass down that wealth from generation to generation. And we're also aggressively combating racial discrimination in housing. That includes everything from ending the legacy of redlining, which I might add was the first issue I got involved in as a young county councilman and almost lost, but we were right. It includes addressing the cruel fact that a home built by the same builder on different sides of a highway, same home, white couple moves into one, a black couple in the other, the black couple's home is somewhere between 12 and 20% undervalued from the white home. Look, folks, too often it happens. Black small businesses are the engines of our economy. But you understand more than most people, they're the glue that holds the community together. The restaurant, the beauty shop, the barber shop, the drugstore. Every business, no matter how big or small, they're the ones that sponsor the church events, the Little League events. They're the ones that hold the community together, that people gather around. So it matters. It matters we support small business, the black community. And as president, my administration disperses hundreds of billions of dollars in federal contracts for everything from refurbishing the decks on aircraft carriers to installing the railings on federal buildings. I get to spend $600 billion a year. And I made a decision that it's all going to be made and worked for in America. None of that money's going to any outfit that's not in America. And guess what? We're determined to make sure that taxpayer dollars goes to American companies and American workers. In my administration, we buy American. That includes increasing the share of those dollars to go to small, disadvantaged businesses, including brown and black businesses. And we're going to bring that from 10% of all that money spent going to small businesses that are black and brown to 15% by 2025. Doesn't sound like much. That means an additional $100 billion to those businesses and those communities. It matters. It matters. Together we turn Infrastructure Week from a punchline into Infrastructure Decade as a headline. Because of you all, I was able to sign a once-in-a-generation infrastructure law with equity at the center of it. We're going to modernize America's roads, bridges, ports, airports, all across America. And we're going to replace poisonous lead pipes so every child can turn on a faucet, whether at home or school, and drink clean water. We're going to deliver affordable high-speed internet so every single household, no matter, so the parent doesn't have to pull in front of a McDonald's parking lot so their kid can get on the internet to do their homework. Folks, we enacted the Inflation Reduction Act, one of the most significant laws in our history. For too long, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs of any advanced nation in the world. And for years, many of us who've been around have been taking on and fighting the drug companies, fighting pharma, and we've not been able to win. But this time we fought them and we won. We beat them. We finally got it done. Medicare will have the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. Seniors will see their out-of-pocket drug costs capped at $2,000 a year, no matter what their costs are. Even if they're $13,000, $15,000, $16,000 like they are for cancer drugs and other needs. Folks, if you're on Medicare and you have diabetes, your insulin is going to be capped at $35 a month, not 35 times $35 a month. And we initially in the House passed that for everyone, including hundreds of thousands of children with type 1 diabetes. But the Republicans blocked it. Imagine, I mean this sincerely, imagine being the parent of a child with type 1 diabetes, knowing that if they don't get that drug, they don't get that insulin, they don't get it on time, their health can be permanently damaged or they could die. Not having enough money because they don't have insurance and no way to get it. Just imagine being that parent. It's wrong. We're going to keep fighting until we get that cost down to 35 bucks. It costs them 10 bucks to make it. They should not get more than $35. The Inflation Reduction Act takes the most aggressive action to confront our climate crisis ever, in all of human history, ever. It offers black families thousands of dollars in energy savings through tax credits and rebates when they have to replace everything from a toaster to a refrigerator and new efficient appliances, to weatherize their homes, to purchase electric vehicles, used as well as new, and so much more. It invests, and Cedric and I talked about this a lot when we were writing it, and invest in those fence-lined communities, like in my state of Delaware, that suffered the greatest consequence, being smothered by pollution year in and year out because literally they're the neighborhoods that live next to those communities. We're going to do all this while reducing the deficit last year $350 billion, and this year by $1 trillion. I'm so sick of Republicans saying we're the big spenders. Give me a break. Give me a break. And by the way, this bill is going to reduce the deficit by another $300 billion over 10 years because Medicare is going to be paying less for the drugs that are going out. As a result, we can afford, I know I'm being banged up by the Republicans, but come bring it on. We can afford to cancel $10,000 in student debt and $20,000 if you had a Pell Grant. For Americans making under $125 grand. 70% of black college students receive a Pell Grant. For many black students, these loan forgiveness will wipe out the student debt completely. For others, it will provide significant relief. It's a game changer. I don't want to hear a word from those members of Congress, if you notice, whose families got tens of thousands of dollars and several $1 million in pandemic relief loan forgiveness. The same ones criticizing. Give me a break, come on. They voted for or those who voted for a tax cut or $2 trillion for the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations, where they didn't pay a penny for it. Look, you know me, I know you, and I have your back. 2 weeks ago, we held the first of its kind White House Summit Against Hate-Fueled Violence that many civil rights leaders here today called for after the evil visit upon Buffalo 4 months ago. Jill and I traveled to Buffalo to grieve with those families and meet with them, as I have with every one of these major massacres that took place, to deliver a message from deep in our nation's soul. America will not let evil win. Hate will not prevail in America. White supremacists will not have the last word. We cannot remain silent. Silence is complicity. We have to speak out and stand united. That's why I signed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. First major gun safety legislation in 30 years. It's going to help keep weapons out of the hands of people who engage in hate and rage that make them a danger to themselves and to others. It invests in community violence interventions, target those most at risk, and save lives, which have shown, these community violence interventions have shown to reduce violent crime by up to 60% where they're taken on in earnest. I'll say it again, I'm not going to stop until I again get an assault weapons ban passed, period. Period, period, period. Standing with many of you at the White House and the family of Emmett Till, I signed the Anti-Lynching Act in his name. That finally, after all these years, finally made lynching a federal crime, a hate crime. And for those who want to bury our history, we made Juneteenth the first federal holiday in 30 years. So they remember, we never forget. You all worked hard to pass the George Floyd Justice Policing Act in the House, but it got blocked by Senate Republicans. And And since they blocked it, I signed an historic executive order that included key elements of the bill: banning chokeholds, greatly restricting no-knock warrants, creating a national database for officer misconduct, tighten the use of force, and police emphasis on de-escalation, and a call for a fresh approach to recruit, hire, train, promote, and retain law enforcement that come from the neighborhoods they serve and know the people they're charged to protect. That's tied to more community policing and advancing public trust and public safety. Let me be clear. I'm not going to stand by and watch the fundamental freedoms in this country be taken from you, like the right to vote and have your vote counted. We have to get the votes in Congress to get John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act to my desk, We must get the votes in Congress to codify Roe v. Wade to protect the right to choose and the right to privacy. Look, I know you helped. Matter of fact, you're the major reason I got elected President of the United States. I'll defend our democracy and your freedoms with every fiber of my being. So let me close with this. I asked Cedric if everyone knows why this is called the CBC Phoenix Dinner. He said, everybody CBC knows it, which I think I knew. But the entire community should know it. I said, okay. In 1901, Congressman George Henry White of North Carolina was the only black member of Congress at the time. He was a champion of civil rights who stood against the rising tide of white mob violence. Delivering his final four speech, he called a temporary farewell. George Henry White said of black Americans, and I quote, "Phoenix-like, we will rise up someday and come again." These parting words are on behalf of an outraged, heartbroken, bruised and bleeding, but God-fearing people, faithful, industrious, loyal, rising people, full of potential force. Well, folks, more than 120 years later, you've made that real. A potential force that's real. It's rising, full of force. You had my back, and I promise you I'll have yours. Together, let's remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, please welcome back the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Board of Directors, Congresswoman Terry A. Sewell.
I want to thank the Vice President and the President of the United States for coming to this amazing dinner. Don't we have a dynamic duo in Kamala Harris and Joe Biden? Tonight I have the distinct honor to present the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Chairs Award. The recipient is a woman who has quietly made history and continues to change it every day. From Milledgeville, Georgia, she ascended to amazing heights in her chosen field of economics. In that field, where many chose to focus intently on one narrow aspect of study, she has demonstrated an astounding range of intellect. From analyzing the Russian banking system to proving the harmful effects of racial violence on the American economy, she has asserted the power of women and people of color in an overwhelmingly white-dominated discipline. She is the first graduate of Spelman College to win the prestigious Marshall Scholarship and also has a degree from Oxford University and a PhD in economics from the University of California at Berkeley. Yet despite her accomplishments, she was discouraged from pursuing her passion centered on the economic effects of racism and sexism. As she says, countless established economists told her that nobody wants to hear about women, and they sure as heck don't want to hear about Black people. Ladies and gentlemen, a point of personal privilege, this award is very personal to me, and it should be to all of us. I hope that we will respect the recipient of this award by listening to her amazing accomplishments. Despite being discouraged from keeping economics alive, she used her lived experience of African Americans into the realm of microeconomics. Since then, she has demonstrated that inequity distorts market forces and limits growth. She continues to be not only a role model for young women and people of color, but an activist in her own right. As an executive committee member of the American Economic Association, she has directed her summer program, internship program for underserved and minority students. And now, in 2022, despite her nomination being mired in racial politics, she was confirmed by the United States Senate as the first woman of color to ever serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Point of personal privilege, I not only get to present this award to her, but she has been a lifelong friend who has not only been a great economist and a brilliant economist, she has also been an amazing person who also gives of her talents and her skills to so many people. Will you welcome and listen to this amazing video about none other than my dear friend, our first Black woman on the Federal Reserve, Governor Dr. Lisa Cook.
Lisa Cook desegregated schools in Georgia as a young student in the 1960s, and she continues to break down barriers today. In 1986, after being named the first Marshall Scholar from Spelman College, she received a second BA from Oxford University, followed by a PhD in 1997 from the University of California, Berkeley, in the fields of macroeconomics and international economics. Governor Cook went on to join the faculty of Harvard's Kennedy School of Government as Deputy Director for Africa Research at the Center for International Development, then worked as a National Fellow at Stanford, and currently is a professor of economics at Michigan State University. She served as a senior economist in the Obama administration's Council of Economic Advisors, and later held President Biden's agency review team in relation to the Federal Reserve. President Biden officially nominated her to be a member of the Board of Governors in January of 2022 to serve as the first Black woman on the Federal Reserve. And on May 10th, the Senate confirmed her nomination by a 51-50 vote, with Vice President Kamala Harris voting as the tiebreaker. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation ardently recognizes Governor Lisa Cook with the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Chairs Award.
Now it is my honor and privilege and great blessing to present the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Chairs Award to the Honorable Governor Lisa D. Cook.
This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. So bright she can burn your eyes. Better look the other way. You can try, but you'll never forget her name. She's on top of the world, hottest of the hottest girls.
I am not sure where to begin my expressions of gratitude, because in this room, the list would be long. There are 5 generations of Baptist ministers in my family. The genetic pull to both forget to thank people and to speak longer than the time allotted is strong. But I will channel my dad, Reverend Peyton B. Cook, who used to say that God only speaks to you for 30 minutes, and will be brief. Of course, I want to thank President Biden, Vice President Harris, Chair Beatty and the Congressional Black Caucus, Chair Sewell and the Foundation, and so many wonderful friends who count themselves as members. And I want to thank every single person who has touched my life, who told me I could do anything, and who showed me I could be anything. This beautiful award, the Phoenix Award, is about leadership. I am beyond humbled and honored to join the ranks of its extraordinary recipients. Because leadership at its core and at its best is not just about carrying out the responsibilities of your office. It is not just about working towards and sometimes even achieving a success. It is also about serving as an example to the people in your life, to the people you work with, and to people you have never met and maybe never will. I was able to find my calling because I had mentors, cheerleaders, and examples. Some helped map the way, some encouraged me down the road, and some showed me what was waiting at the end. During my childhood in Milledgeville, Georgia, I watched both sides of my family promote nonviolent change alongside our family friend, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My sisters and I desegregated schools as girls while the women in our family were integrating university STEM programs by both race and gender. My cousin Floyd McKissick Sr. spoke at the March on Washington and integrated the University of North Carolina Law School. Thank you, Floyd. My uncle, Samuel Du Bois Cook, was also in the class of 1948 with Dr. King at Morehouse College and was the first African-American tenured professor at a major Southern university, Duke University, and later was president of Dillard University. I say none of this to brag. I say it because I had the extraordinary gift of seeing excellence every day, as well as the endless love of my family and their support. I didn't just see what I could do, I didn't think there were things I could not do. It was a blessing and a gift. The Phoenix Award passes that gift on. It lets every young person who has a dream or a passion, however wonky it might be, see themselves in position of leadership. It gives everyone an Aunt Loretta or Aunt Vone who is here with me tonight, a cousin Floyd, and Uncle Sam, a Professor Mary, Reverend Peyton, and Big Sister Pamela, who is also here with me tonight. So my final thanks is to everyone in this room tonight. If you are here, you are an example. You are showing the next generation of elected representatives, educators, doctors, lawyers, and my own band of brothers and sisters, the math nerds, what wonderful things lie ahead. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. She's walking on fire. This girl is on fire.
Thank you, Governor Cook and Congresswoman Soul. You're both wonderful examples of young Black people everywhere. Now to present our next award, please welcome, once again, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, the Honorable Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
Thank you. We would now like to recognize a very special person in the audience. Would my good friend and friend to CBC, Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, please stand? Thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. I mentioned that leadership does bring a few privileges. And for me, one is honoring and presenting the Congressional Black Caucus Chairs Award. I wanted to make sure that the recipient of this award represented the theme of this year's annual legislative conference, Advancing Our Power, Elevating Our Power, and advancing our purpose. And our honoree is just such a person. Let me dwell for just a moment on the key word in that title, our. It's a small word, only 3 letters, and yet it is so very big. You've heard it all through this year's conference. Our people, our agenda, our power, and our message. And that's the one word that gives power and meaning to everything we do. Together, acting as one, there's nothing we can't accomplish. The recipient of this award is a man who has never forgotten the words our and we, and the power that they contain. He has defined what it means to be a public intellectual in the 21st century with his original ideas and his unmatched ability to articulate them. In doing so, he manages to combine the scholarly, the popular, citing philosophers and academics alongside hip-hop artists and comedians. He has published more than 24 books, all of them well-received, and many of them bestsellers. His work has been rewarded with an American Book Award, the Southern Book Prize, and 2 NAACP Image Awards. We've benefited from his insights on NPR, in the New York Times, and on such television shows as Meet the Press, Face the Nation, The Today Show, and Good Morning America. He has taught at many prestigious colleges such as Brown, Columbia, Georgetown, Vanderbilt, and universities of North Carolina and Pennsylvania. As an ordained pastor, he is well known for his forceful and engaging sermons in countless houses of worship across this country. From New York City, Abbison Baptist Church, the Riverside Church, to Detroit Hartford Memorial and Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, he is an author, a lecturer, a media personality, and yes, a preacher, a professor, and yet through all of his astonishing diverse work, he has one consistent theme: exposing, delineating, and combating the racism that has affected America for more than 500 years. He's dedicated to educating all Americans about Black life as we live it. And he's done so fearlessly and forcefully. As one writer described him, he is a street fighter in a suit and tie. Please turn your attention to the video screens and let's get to know him a little better.
Over the last 40 years, New York Times best-selling author Michael Eric Dyson has delivered sermons from some of the nation's most noted pulpits. But being a preacher is only one way this multifaceted intellectual has helped illuminate the Black experience in America. As one of the nation's most renowned professors with a PhD in religion from Princeton University, he has taught at Brown, Columbia, and Georgetown, among other impressive institutions. Author of 25 books, 7 of which are New York Times bestsellers, including The Black Presidency, Barack Obama and the Politics of Race in America, and Tears We Cannot Stop, a sermon to white America. The Times refers to his work as the best of Black oratory and written word. His literary work earned him the 2020 Langston Hughes Medal, shared with past awardees James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, and Maya Angelou. Dyson has also won an American Book Award, a Southern Book Award, and 2 NAACP Image Awards. And as a media personality on The Today Show, Good Morning America, and NPR's Morning Edition, as well as Meet the Press and Face the Nation, Dyson shares his intellect with the public in a way that's accessible and impactful. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation proudly recognizes Michael Eric Dyson with the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Chairs Award.
We honor him for his excellence and his courage, and we thank him for carrying forward our message and our cause, advancing our purpose, elevating our power. Please join me in showing our appreciation to the recipient of the 2022 Congressional Black Caucus Chairs Award, my friend, bad brother, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
Thank you so very kindly, Chairwoman Joyce Beatty, for this extraordinary honor, for the grace and intelligence with which she has negotiated and navigated this torrential downpour of unenviable ignorance in the midst of an orange apparition that has beclouded the American imagination. I'm honored to be here tonight with so many distinguished honorees. Congresswoman Joyce Beatty has been a supporter and a friend. She has been a stalwart. She has been a leader, along with these other extraordinary political figures. My dear friend, Susan Taylor, like a mother to me, Queen of Black America, has put me in position to win and thrive. And her husband, Kefra Burns, a poet of incredible imagination and a brother walking the way. And my lovely wife, Marcia Dyson, an extraordinary intellectual, a minister, an author, a raconteur, a bon vivant, and a fine-ass black woman. We know what time it is. I accept this award on behalf of those who are freedom fighters like you, out here doing the best we can. We got folk who are trying to talk about CRT. They don't know the difference between CRT and OPP. They trying to ban books. I am confused. You said you loved history. You said you wanted books on Abraham Lincoln and books on Aaron Burr and books on Alexander Hamilton, the founding fathers, the founding mothers, the founding sisters, the founding brothers. But when it comes to our people, there is a deficit of attention paid to our history. That's why I write the books I do, to interrogate the practices of black people, to talk about what we have done, where we have come from. I go from the gut bucket down in the ghetto where I emerged in the dirt of Detroit, West Side, what up though? And with the grandiloquent, I deal with British poetry and European ideas, and I deal with Jay-Z, Jigga. I deal with Nas, Nasty Nas. I even deal with mumbling rap when I can understand what in the hell they are saying. But most especially, I am a freedom fighter for vulnerable black people who will never stand in these hallowed halls, for those Negroes who get up early in the morning and try to go to work, for those black people who are called nasty names by Fox News, for those who endure the hateful indifference of a white supremacist logic that continues to marginalize their lives. That's why I want y'all to get out here and vote. We got folk running who shouldn't even be running. You got a dude running who had balls on the field, but none when it comes to making vulnerable black people part of his agenda. Al Sharpton's hair has more bounce, luster, and character than this man is able to manage in his own body. You got unintelligent Negroes, Negroes who are untrammelled by erudition, those who are allergic to ideas and blackness. We must stand up against them, even when they are on the highest court in the land, even when they are practicing white supremacy by ventriloquism, black mouth open, white ideas coming forth. And I want to tell you, you got to get out there and vote. They talking about, well, we got this old white man who is our president. This old white man done more for us than some half his age white boys who got college degrees from Ivy League but who are addicted to anti-democracy in America. You know that had Negroes gone on January 6th and put their foot up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, if they had gone out there to protest, they would have been arrested and shot down. That's why I stand tall for all black people. I love black people. I don't care who you are. Light, bright, and almost white, dark in the park, like the bark. I represent everybody. And yellow Negroes are back. What's up?
Congratulations, Dr. Dyson, and thank you for your inspiration. Whew. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, the joy in this room is infectious. The Congressional Black Caucus Body Award is, as its name indicates, an honor given by the whole CBC, all 58 members.
And to present this illustrious award is a man who has served on the CBC for a decade. Please welcome the representative from the 33rd District of Texas, the Honorable Congressman Mark Vesey.
Thank you. Good evening. The CBC Body Award is from all of us. The largest congressional Black caucus ever, and I'm honored to represent my colleagues. As the representative of Fort Worth, Texas, you might say I'm biased, but I think my colleagues would agree that choosing this year's recipient award was a no-brainer. True, she is a constituent, but more important, she is a person who is an example to all of us, an example of citizenship, of activism, and of generosity. She represents the spirit of Black America, fellowship, faith, and commitment to progress. It was 96 years ago, this coming week, that she was born in the piney woods of Marshall, Texas. Her parents moved to Fort Worth, and in 1939, when she was 12, they purchased a house in a mostly white neighborhood. Soon, on June 19th, of all days, a white mob burned their home to the ground, and she never forgot the significance and the irony of that day. At 16, she graduated from high school. Before she entered college, though, she had some things to do. She got married, had 4 children, got divorced, but in 1953, she graduated from Wiley College and began her public school teaching career. Then she got a master's degree in counseling and guidance from North Texas State, all while working nights at a Convair aircraft factory in Fort Worth. And listen to just some of what she did after her so-called retirement. In 1977, she co-founded a citizens group to help provide housing for economically disadvantaged people. She volunteered and served as a board member at Habitat for Humanity. She helped establish the Black Historical and Genealogical Society in Fort Worth, and she served in many capacities for a dozen or more organizations, political groups, social and cultural clubs, church groups, and she founded her own nonprofit, Unity Unlimited. But it was just a little more than 5 years ago that she became a nationally recognized figure. In her 90th year, she began a walking campaign, and then in 2019, an online petition to make Juneteenth a national holiday. As we all know, that effort was a huge success, and last year when President Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, he presented her with the first pen he used. Named the 2021 Texan of the Year by the Dallas Morning News and one of 25 people in the book of unsung heroes of the pandemic, she is about to receive the 2022 CBC Body Award. But first, let's watch this short video tribute to her.
Born in 1926, Opal Lee has been celebrating Juneteenth her whole life. As a young woman in Fort Worth, Texas, her family's home in a predominantly white neighborhood was destroyed by an angry mob on June 19th, and so was ignited her mission to promote the day, not only as a commemoration of the end of slavery, but to reclaim it for herself and turn a day of personal trauma into a celebration of community and liberation. Over 70 years later, in 2016, at 90 years old, she began a walking campaign, making her way across the country to Washington, D.C. in an effort to promote the holiday nationally. Her passion was so contagious that she collected over 1.6 million petition signatures in support. And in June of 2021, Opal stood alongside President Biden as he signed a law making the observance of Juneteenth a nationally recognized holiday. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation joyously recognizes the grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee, with the 2022 CBC Body Phoenix Award.
rise to your feet and join me in honoring the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opal Lee.
Good evening, young people. And know you're young people if you're not 95. I am delighted, I'm humbled, I'm thankful that I've been chosen for this award. And I want all of you to know that it stands for freedom as far as I'm concerned. I guess y'all know I'm Opal Lee and I'm considered the grandmother of Juneteenth. But I could be all of you's grandma. I'm really just a little old lady in tennis shoes getting in everybody else's business. And I have a damn good time doing it. I've got to thank these young people for nominating me for the Nobel Prize. And I'm so thankful, and I've already spent the money. Now, if I don't win, 'cause I got projects, ooh, I got things I want to do. If you've ever seen one of those Santa Claus lists that's yay long, I got that many things that need to be done. And at the top of the list is this lady in Uganda who's the mother of 44 children by the same husband. She has 38 living children. And I wanted to have decent housing. So I'm going to get some of those containers and have them fixed up. I got my eye on at least 20. But the list goes on. I don't know. But one other thing I want to say to you. I've already said thank you for the Phoenix Award. I want to say, make yourself a committee of one. You know people who aren't on the same page you were on. So change their minds. It's going to take a bit. But if people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And it's left up to you, young people, to change their minds. We don't have no guns, but you got some sharp minds. And you're using them. But I want you to be sure that you vote so that we can get ready for some of the discrepancies that are in our land. We've got to get somebody in office who understands that you can't erase history. There's no point in taking the books out of the schools. You can't erase history. You got to get somebody in office who understands that we are the richest country in the world, and there's no need for homelessness and joblessness and health care that some people can get and others can't, and climate change that we are responsible for. And if we're not careful, we're all going to hell in a handbasket. Please go vote. And it's not enough for you to vote. Take somebody else. See that somebody else goes to vote. Thank you, young people, for the Nobel Prize. I can't say enough about that, except if I don't win that money and that prize, I'm coming to you to get my things done.
What an amazing woman. Thank you, Mama Lee, for all of your service on this earth. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lee, Congressman Vesey. Now let's welcome back to the stage CBC Chairwoman, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and CBCF Chairwoman, another friend of mine, Congresswoman Terry A. Sewell.
Thank you so much, Amari. Let me also take this moment to recognize Tamika Palmer, the mother of Breonna Taylor. Please stand, Tamika. That is why you must vote. Our democracy is in peril. That's a sentence that we hear almost every day on TV and radio and read in our newspapers and magazines. We have to be very careful, or it might become a cliche. And too easy to ignore when the fact is our American democracy is very much in peril. And we can't waste 1 minute defending it. Congresswoman Sewell?
As members of Congress, we take a solemn oath to defend our democracy. In the past year, that's become an increasingly difficult job, but yet we keep on keeping on. We are sustained by the faith that, in the words of Dr. King, unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word.
In these times, we have to find new pathways for that truth. We have to blaze trails for democracy through a tangled forest of lies and hate. Happily for us, we have leaders who are doing just that, spreading new ways of strengthening American democracy.
That is why the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation has created a new award, an award to recognize the courageous men and women that are so essential to our work on Capitol Hill and throughout our republic. We've named it the Democracy Trailblazer Award.
And as Congresswoman Sewell said, we've raised our hands and sworn to defend the Constitution to safeguard American democracy. But sometimes history singles out one person. There are moments when it falls upon a public servant to carry a special load. When that time comes, a good leader can become a great leader, and a great leader can become a giant.
This past session of Congress, we have seen such a person take charge, one who never shrank from his responsibilities of leadership. even in a job that was unprecedented in our lifetime. He has been threatened by many known and unknown obstacles, and his every move was made in the glaring spotlight of the public.
As chair of the House Committee on Homeland Security, he called for an investigation of the events of the January 6, 2021, bolstered by representatives from both sides of the aisle. He helped to lead the quest for a bipartisan, bicameral commission like the one that had examined the 9/11 attacks. We were frustrated in our hopes for such a commission, but he persisted. Eventually, he was named by Speaker Nancy Pelosi to chair the United States House Select Committee on the January 6th attack.
It's impossible to imagine anyone fulfilling the job with more fairness, calmness, and balance. His leadership has been simply amazing and has commanded the respect of Americans across the political spectrum and across this nation.
Throughout his service, he continued to represent the people of Mississippi's 2nd Congressional District with care, integrity, and distinction. Let's watch and see him in action.
Representative Benny G. Thompson has spent over 50 years as a public servant fighting for the voiceless. His efforts toward equity began long before he joined Congress in 1993, but his presence there has never been more important than it is now. After 9 terms on the Homeland Security Committee, as its first ever Democratic chair, he has cemented his reputation as a no-nonsense problem solver, leading to last year when Speaker Pelosi named him chair of the Select Committee on the January 6 attack, making him the member to help shed light on one of the darkest days of our democracy. Chairman Thompson's highly effective leadership, according to Time magazine, will wrap up later this year with an eagerly anticipated report on the destructive and deadly events of the day, a day he has called the culmination of an attempted coup. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation graciously recognizes Representative Benny G. Thompson with the Democracy Trailblazers Award.
It's our honor to present the first ever Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Democracy Trailblazer Award to our friend, Congressman Benny G. Thompson of Mississippi.
Thank you to my colleagues for this award. Over the past year, it's been an honor to serve this country as chairman of both the House Committee on Homeland Security and the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. I want to thank my CBC colleagues, especially my good friend, Chairwoman Joyce Beatty, and my absolute best friend, Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, for their unwavering support for me for this position. I also want to thank Speaker Pelosi for giving me this honor to hold this position. But you know, I want to thank my wife of 54 years, Dr. London Thompson, my daughter, BJ, my granddaughter, Gina, my grandson, Thomas, for their patience, understanding throughout my time in Congress, but especially through this investigation. When the Capitol was attacked, we were advised to remove our pens for safety reasons, and as it feared the rioters would personally attack us based on our designation of this pen. I refused to remove my pen. I fought for democracy for half a century and refused to allow democracy to fall. I knew that doing this riot, it would be a disservice to our country, our children, our grandchildren, to allow the January 6th attack to be treated as an ordinary day. The attack on our Capitol was a violent attack on our democracy. For the past 15 months, the Select Committee has been working to uncover the facts, circumstances, and causes that led to the violence of January 6th. What you saw with your very eyes was absolutely what occurred. And to help make sure with this, that this never ever happens again. I also want to make sure that I take a moment to acknowledge Officer Goodman and Officer Dorn for this time. They both are here tonight, and we really want to recognize them. You and your sisters and brothers in blue held the line against the violent mob that was seeking to block the transfer of power. Without your courage and that of your colleagues, the tragedy of that day could have been far worse, and for that you have our thanks. So the video that you all viewed was only a small portion of the work of the Select Committee over the past year. During our public hearings, the Select Committee has told the story of a president who did everything in his power to overturn an election. He lied, he bullied, he betrayed his oath and abused his power. He pressured officials from the local level up to his own vice president to assist in his scheme to remain in power, even though the American people had voted him out of office. When his political pressure campaigns failed to deliver the results he wanted, he summoned a mob, a violent mob, to Washington. He knew the mob was angry. He knew they were armed, yet he spurred them on to march on the Capitol, then watched on TV as the violence unfolded. For 3 hours, he failed to tell this mob to go home. It was a supreme dereliction of duty. And we've made it clear through the Select Committee's hearings. So far, our investigation continues. We are still gathering facts and will continue to share our evidence with the American people. We are a better country than what you saw on January 6th, and by the time we produce our report, the whole world will know that we are still the United States of America. Thank you very much.
And now, honored guests, sit tight and get ready as we reset the stage, because in just a few minutes, we'll be entertained by Hall of Fame singer, Miss Gladys Knight.